Can Orange County solve its homeless problem? Who's helping? Who's hurting? What's working? What's not? We hear from someone who's been tackling the issues of homelessness and mental health for a long time, State Senator John Moorlach. He's next on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by...
Each new community 5 Point brings to life represents a promise delivered. Great neighborhoods are more than just places to live. They are places to connect. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming.
Chapman University is a proud sponsor of Inside OC and community programming. Hi, I'm Rick Reiff. Our recent show with State Senator John Moorlach began with his report on the precarious finances of many California cities. Then we got into the topic of homelessness and ran out of time. So here's more. We pick up with a discussion of a key figure, federal judge David O. Carter. The man of the hour, Judge Carter. For people that maybe aren't familiar with it, who is Judge Carter? What is he doing in the homeless situation, and what do you make of what he's doing?
So he's being referred to affectionately as Rambo. You know, he's a Vietnam vet who's just an incredible individual and doing a good job as a federal judge. If I talk to my friends in the lawyer community, they would say he's a good judge. He's just unpredictable. And so he decided to get out of his courtroom with this ACLU lawsuit and check it out and decide, wait a second, we got to move these people out.
And the lawsuit, the ACLU, what was their lawsuit?
The County of Orange was going to remove the occupants on the Santa Ana River Trail.
Okay. And
so they sued to say, wait, you should keep them here. So he's took the case and he said, if my fact's right, I hope. Yeah. He said, let's remove them humanely. Let's give them a 30-day voucher for hotels. Well, that's great for 1 month. But when you move all these people around the county into hotels, what do you do in month 2, month 3? And so what he's trying to do is grab the tiger by the tail and really say, we got to start doing things now. So he's been real good about trying that. I just hope that he has an end game that works out well for everybody, but it's certainly rattling the cages of every city council member in Orange County, and he's taking the mayors and the city managers to task to say, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going to put them? Where's your respective share?
Do you know Judge Carter, and have you worked with him?
Well, the joys of having been involved in Orange County, in elected office for 20 years in the county and 3 now in the state senate. Yeah, I know David, and we've had good conversations over the past, and we've had good ones on this very topic.
Has he reached out to you, or have you reached out to him on this issue?
He approached me and said, I cannot call you, but you can call me. So I did. And so I have been trying to assist him in strategies in Sacramento. I have talked to then President Pro Tem Kevin DeLeon. Kevin DeLeon in 2016 did a bill, we call it No Place Like Home, which says, let's take the Mental Health Services Act, which was created by Prop 63 in 2004, that taxes those that have taxable income of $1 million or more another 1%, and that money is dedicated for mental health services. And it's actually providing a decent revenue stream, and we said, let's hypothecate it, let's securitize it, we'll issue $2 billion in bonds, and then we will build immediate housing for mentally ill homeless people. That passed the Senate, was signed by Governor Brown, and we are trying to get that debt validated. It is tied up in a superior court in Sacramento County. It's holding it up. So even as of just last week, I signed on as a co-author of a state constitutional amendment that would put a measure on the ballot to say, get that funding now. Forget the courts. Let's just get this money to to start building housing for mentally ill, homeless people. You cannot treat a mentally ill person unless you have them housed. Then you can do a psychiatric assessment. Then you can do an assisted outpatient treatment plan, maybe provide the right medication, and then start working on how to get them back mainstream. So I've been working on that in the background. I'm not, I don't broadcast it, but I've also did Senate Bill 59 to figure out what we can do with Fairview for mentally ill individuals.
The Fairview Developmental Center in Costa Mesa.
So, but I've included the city council, the mayor, said, what can we do to follow your general plan, but what can we do to have maybe 25 acres or something that we could use to help, in the mental illness category. So yeah, I've been working with Judge Carter, letting him know what I'm doing, and I've been Kevin DeLeon is trying to get in contact with him. He's obviously been trying to talk to the governor. I've talked to the governor, asked him if he's taken a call yet from David O. Carter to say, hey, Governor, what can we do in your last few months from a legacy perspective to make Orange County maybe a model for the rest of the state?
Have you talked to the governor about that specific issue?
We just met recently. It was a public setting, but I just said, thanking him for his service. It was sort of the last dinner we're going to do with him. We do a dinner at the mansion once a year. I said last chance, but maybe as you exit, because I know what it's like to term out and finish things up. Let's see what we can do. Let's make Orange County a model.
What kind of vibe did you get from the governor, if any?
His office is very serious about this topic. They've been working on it for a long time. Carter's sort of, it's like he shows up and, so I don't know if Carter's going to help us or hurt us, but the governor's office has been very focused on this, and so I'm looking forward to some solutions there too.
What does it say about, I don't know if it says something about our political process, that it takes a federal judge? I mean, because it seems like really a federal judge shouldn't be making policy for a county, and yet it seems like we needed this judge to step in to get the ball rolling or something. Is that a failure of the political system?
I would say that Orange County has already been working on a strategy. I would say that it's not perfect. I would say that maybe with David Carter, some things have been a little disruptive. We're starting to see what some people are made of. We're seeing some good people maybe not performing well in county government. We're seeing some people that have tried their best, but maybe were thrown under a bus and have left.
Want to name names?
No, not.
No. Okay.
I have some conversations still to have with
you have spoken publicly, I think, critically of Supervisor Spitzer regarding this, right? I mean, you have criticized him.
I think some people are really good about seeing the pitchforks and saying, I got to get in front of that parade. And I think Supervisor Spitzer did that quite well with the El Toro Airport, probably learned a lot from that strategy, and he finds himself in a race against an incumbent. Incumbents win 90% of the time, and I think he's maybe manipulating a lot of people for his own personal benefit. And I don't find that very amusing.
And you felt he did that when he showed up at I can't remember, was it in Costa Mesa or was it?
He showed up in Costa Mesa, Laguna Niguel,
where people were protesting these.
These were open city council meetings.
And
where
residents
he
showed
said
up
at the beginning of that week, what are we going to do to fix this problem? And then he let everybody vote for votes, and then he cajoled them into voting for it, and then he votes no. And then he goes the opposite direction. So he feigned that he was working with Dave Carter and he was going to be a real leader, and he just turned out to be a manipulator, in my opinion. And I find it very disturbing as an elected official. Again, there are some people that just manipulate things because they're self-serving. And there's some of us that are trying to fix things and don't care what happens to our political futures because we know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I'll say about that.
All right. Okay. I think you said quite a bit about that. I guess maybe on a sort of related note, the governor. You've mentioned the governor a bit. Who are you supporting? Are you backing anybody at this point for governor?
No, I've not endorsed anybody.
Do you think you will?
I don't know. Probably not.
Why not?
Two reasons. One is, although the polling shows that maybe John Cox is in second place, I think when the votes settle down, we'll have two Democrats running in the fall, in the top two system. So if that's the case, then why do I need to upset one of these two and endorse the other, right?
You mean upset one of the two Republicans?
Two Republicans.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So from that standpoint, I've just decided to stay out. Travis Allen is a local boy, and and he's a good kid, and John Cox, Illinois boy, yeah, also a good kid. But I'm just sitting here, and they both have a perception that Californians will do something different this time. But in a top two primary, you don't have two Republicans running in a field of 3 or 4 very strong Democrats. You're not going to make the top two. You should have only had one. One of those two should have stepped down, and then we would have had a Republican in the top two, and in November we would have had a fun time as a party. And right now, we're going to find out, in late June, which one of those guys kind of blew it by staying in.
Let me ask you, this time around, did you think about running for governor?
I had plenty of people asking me to, so yeah, I did think about it.
And you chose not to?
That's correct.
Why?
Because I don't think I could have convinced John Cox and Travis Allen to step down. So, so then it's a mess.
Okay.
So I don't have an ego. I don't care. But I've had some wonderful people come and ask. But if the path isn't there, then what's the point?
Yeah. So going back to just before we wrap up, to go back to what we were talking about with the homeless. Some of the ideas out there, how do you like this idea that everything should be proportional, that every community should set aside a certain number of beds for the homeless? Because aren't there just some places that it's more conducive? I mean, is there really a good place in Aliso Viejo or Laguna Niguel for a sizable homeless facility, or does it make more sense to do it in an old armory or in an institutional setting that already exists?
I don't have all the answers, Rick, but maybe it's regional. Maybe we have 5 regions, or we have more regions where cities cooperate. Aliso Viejo went through their creek and removed all the non-native reeds and found a massive camp in their own city. Lo and behold, South County has homeless people. Dana Point recently found a nice home inside a tree, right? Lo and behold, South County has homeless people. And so they're going to be in your community. They're going to be riding their bikes in the middle of the night. They're going to be dumpster diving at your grocery stores all night long. They're there. So I'm just saying, structure it. Yeah. Find facilities. So when a police officer sees a homeless person pushing a shopping cart at 3 in the morning and saying, wait a second, you really shouldn't be here. Let us help you. Let us help you get to a place where you have a bed, a bathroom, a shower, a meal, and let's see what we can do to help you. At the Haven for Hope, those individuals that enter that program, they work an 18-month program to say, okay, what can we do to give you the skill sets, the wardrobe, the ability, the job, build a deposit for an apartment, build an income stream that you can pay for that monthly rent, and get you mainstreamed. That 18-month program seems long, but their success rate at the end is 90%. Now, you're going to have a lot of people that don't want to do anything. We know that. These are the renegades that, they're up yours kind of guys that say, we're going to just live out there. And at the Haven for Hope, they have a special place just for them to put up their tents and say, fine, here you are. But if you walk downtown San Antonio and you do the Riverwalk, you won't see homeless people all over the place like you do here, Civic Center or LA or whatever. So I'm just saying, let's get professional about it. Let's manage it and work with this population and say, okay, you got a place. You got a place. Now you figure out how to mainstream. A lot of these people are detached from their families, right? The family isn't stepping up. So how do we as a society do it. I'm just saying let's start with a plan and we've got models and how do we put that into play?
Do you think it's doable? Is it doable here in Orange County?
I think it is. You know, it's just sort of funny. You've never heard anybody in Santa Ana complain about housing homeless people from, you know, during the winter months because it's too cold. Yeah, I don't see newspaper reports of anything. So where they're located, we don't seem to have a problem. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, where's all the angst coming from? And I think it's more perception versus reality. But it's going to take a community like Orange County to step back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, where's our compassion component?
Yeah. Well, you remarked earlier about the fact that we used to house these people. You're talking about the early release of prisoners, and that's a portion of the homeless population now. Are you know, people who've been released from prison, and I'm thinking, well, we used to house a lot of people not just in prisons, but we housed them in institutions, and our whole idea was that we didn't want to institutionalize people for mental illness anymore. Is that part of the problem, or do we have to, maybe call it another name, call it a homeless shelter, but we're going to re-institutionalize people who we decided years ago we weren't going to institutionalize anymore?
I think it goes back to 1962. I think it was the Civil Rights Act that actually gave mentally ill people this right, and they couldn't be institutionalized anymore. But we've got to, as a society, figure things out. If 1 in 5 people have some form of mental illness, then we've got an issue to deal with. If we spend $1 to help a young person to address their mental illness, if we can diagnose it, we save $7. So we've been blessed in Orange County. The Children's Hospital of Orange County, CHOC in Orange, just opened a floor to assist parents who have children that are already diagnosed with some form of mental illness. And you know, when I give speeches, Rick, and I'm out in public and I talk about this topic, and then I look at my audience and I start seeing faces and I'm watching them react, I know I'm hitting a nerve. I know someone knows someone who's mentally ill or autistic, or, you know, all the issues that we're dealing with in just living in the, and how do we as a society, you know, get over the reactions, the pitchforks, and say, okay, we've got to address this. Kelly Thomas sort of started the whole journey for me when he was killed by a Fullerton Police Department early on in my role as a supervisor, and people came up and said, you know, if you had Laura's Law in place, maybe he would have survived. And you go, oh, what's Laura's Law? You know, and it's, well, that's a bill that was passed in 2002, I think. And no one's adopted it except for the county of Nevada County, where Laura Wilcox was murdered by a schizophrenic homeless person. And so I said, well, let's see what we can do. But we were going through a recession, right? So we couldn't find funding. So I worked with Senator Darrell Steinberg, who wrote Prop 63. And he gave me Senate Bill 585, which allowed some of that money to be used to fund Laura's Law. So that started a relationship.
Again, what does Laura's Law do?
If you've had an incident with the police, or you've been in jail, or you have something, and you're over 18, your parents no longer have control of what you do. You're no longer a minor. And so if you've had an issue, the parent can go to the mental health services director of the county and say, I want my child, my adult child, to have a judge encourage him or her to get on an assisted outpatient treatment program. Because right now, without medication, it's a mess. But if we can get some medication to help, hopefully with not the side effects or whatever. I mean, it's a complex issue, but can we help this person to normalize in some way? A mental health crisis is a unique thing. We have them a lot in Orange County. So a police officer has to show up and say, okay, what's going on? And then they take that person to an emergency room. Well, emergency rooms aren't built for mental health crises. You need a crisis stabilization unit. And in Orange County, we only had 10 beds for that. 10 beds with 3.1 plus million people. So I did SB 1273 2 years ago to, again, work with Darrell Steinberg to use a little bit more of that money to build more beds so you can take people that are having these crises And I talk to business people. You wouldn't know that you would think they're fine, but they're bipolar. Well, you're reading articles all the time about actors and singers dealing with some of these mental health issues, and they have a crisis. It's an incident where it's kind of awkward. They think they're in control, but they're not, and so you got to help them. So we're trying to address that. We've got more beds being built now in Orange County, but even in Orange County. We just finally opened this pediatric center. It's glorious, but we're trying to deal with it. But this takes years. Yeah. It takes a personality like Rick Warren to lose a son, right, to depression.
Rick Warren, the pastor.
Yeah, he and Kay were instrumental in helping Chalk build something because they were driving to L.A., right, to get psychiatric services. So Orange County is really doing things, you know, and all I would say is that maybe Judge Carter is pushing it a little faster, but I just hope he doesn't disrupt it so much that people lose the focus.
You know, it's one thing to say, you know, you got to house these people, give them hotel vouchers, as you said, as you pointed out, that lasts a month or something. But what is the problem here is 4,000 plus homeless people at any given time, right? That's kind of the estimate in Orange County. We're a county of 3 million people. At a given time, there might be 4,000 to 5,000 homeless people out there somewhere. How many beds are there right now? If you counted up all the different beds, how many beds do we have?
We have more demand than supply.
Yeah.
So we are trying to build with a consortium of wonderful leaders in the county. We're trying to find locations to build 2,700 rooms, you know, for permanent housing. So you can at least say, okay, it's got a bed and a kitchen and a bathroom. And we're working on the affordable housing component, and that's moving forward. We've got incredible developers in Orange County that are willing to do low-income housing, and we've got to find the acreage and the land, and then we've got to work with the city councils. And it's not an easy road. Yeah. It's not a really profitable road, but it's something where we can work with social services, we can work with the healthcare agency, we can work with the state, and we work together to provide the facilities. We can do it, but is it a 3-week solution like maybe David Carter's looking for? No, it might be a 3-year solution.
What did you think, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but I know there were some reports recently that some of the hotels that cooperated in this and offered vouchers won't do it again because of vandalism that occurred. Is that real, or have you heard, you know, anything?
If we both heard it, it must be true. I haven't gotten any calls, or I haven't had any conversations with actual hotel operators. But when you have someone that isn't medicated properly, and you have someone who comes with kind of a, you know, it's complex, right? And so you've got some people that maybe feel like they're not in the right place. I've seen documentaries where someone was given a home that was homeless, and he put his tent up and slept in the tent inside this little apartment. The brain is a unique study. I mean, we don't have psychiatrists in emergency rooms. But we need to build some more facilities to help some of these people, because with the advancement of medical technology, we do have medication that can help out. The issue is finding the right combination to help these individuals out. And when they are on that medication, they're wonderful people. You wouldn't even know that they had a mental illness issue.
Finally, John, you have, as you have on other tough issues, you've stepped forward. You said, let's try to find some solutions. Have many of your elected official colleagues also stepped up? Are there others? Have you had much? Is there anybody else who's kind of willing to face the fire on this?
Senator Jim Bell has been a real leader in the Senate.
Jim Bell from
Santa Clara County, San Jose. He has been a real leader. He is the chair of the Mental Health Caucus, which I'm a member of.
Okay. And how about locally? Anybody, any of the supervisors, anybody?
We've got an incredible group of leaders. Scott Larson from Homemade, Larry Haynes from Mercy House, Jim Palmer, Orange County Rescue Mission.
But these are all people that are in the social agencies.
These are preeminent individuals.
How about elected officials?
Oh, sorry.
Local elected officials.
I think their hearts are there. I think they're trying to figure out how to balance this whole thing because of the emotions. So I would say some people have demagogued it. which is unfortunate. But I think most people realize there's got to be a compassionate component.
John, as always, great talking to you. Thanks for
thank you, Rick. Yeah. You're the best.
No, you're the best. Thank you. One of those community leaders that John Moorlach just mentioned, Orange County Rescue Mission's Jim Palmer, will be our guest on an upcoming show. That's it for now. You can watch this show and past shows by going to pbssocal.org or rickreiff.com. You can also catch our shows and our post-show open mic chatter on YouTube. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Inside OC. Inside OC is brought to you by...
Each new community 5 Point brings to life represents a promise delivered. Great neighborhoods are more than just places to live, they are places to connect. 5 Point is a proud sponsor of public television and community programming.
All your life, people talk about what's best for you. But to most people, it's just that. Talk. Unless you're with Memorial Care, a healthcare system devoted to one important thing: what's best for you.